it has been more difficult to think about parenting in this day and age compared to parenting from my parents' time, specifically for us, because maybe for people who were raised and born and are from the West, so the Western cultures, you have this individualistic mindset anyways, right? So the government supports you like the government supported us in trying to teach us these things about baby rearing that usually your mom teaches you, because that's where you learn from in our culture. So a lot of things that our parents taught us are not also empirically correct, because science thinks differently, and that's perfectly fine. It's just that if science has not validated or invalidated our pseudoscience, I don't like to push it away with, but if it has, then yes, science wins. So a lot of things that we did not know about how to hold a baby, like our parents did, not to give sugar to a baby or salt to a baby, that our parents didn't know because they were only getting information from their parents. So where I'm going with this is, in our culture, compared to the West, we're not that individualistic. The West has governments, as I mentioned, they have their own individuality, they have information, but we had society. Hi guys, and welcome to the Weekly Bustle. Another month, another one-on-one conversation that we're going to have today. I have listed down some conversations, ideas, and topics that I want to discuss. I changed my view a little bit so that you don't get bored of the yellow wall. Today I want to talk about three things. One is shortcuts to success in life. One is the paradox of productivity. And the last one is a brief discussion on Father's Day and Mother's Day. At the time of this recording, Mother's Day has passed. My wife had her first Mother's Day, and Father's Day is about to come. So I'm going to have my own first Father's Day, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I want to have a little bit of a conversation on that. To begin, let's talk about shortcuts to success in life. I have so many stories that I could share about that. I think the biggest struggle that I've personally faced, and I've seen people around my circle also face, is this get rich quick thing. And I definitely agree, to give you a spoiler, that there are no shortcuts to success in life. Everything you do is built upon another thing that you do, so on and so forth. But there are cases where you get more lucky and you get a shortcut in, because the way the current system works, frankly, if you have money, you can easily make more money. But if you don't have money, making more money is a challenge, right? So we have this saying in Pakistan as well, which I'll translate to US dollars, but it's like, it's very hard to earn your first 100K. After that, it becomes very easy. From making 0 to 100K or 100K to 200K is easier. It's more difficult than trying to make 1 million into 2 million. Because when you have more money, you have more of an appetite to take risks, more places you can try things out. Therefore, it's relatively more easy. Of course, it's anecdotal evidence. I'm not a financial advisor of any sort that I can give you hard numbers. But what I can talk about is my own experience with trying to get rich quickly, and also experiences of people around me who I heard also tried, and some didn't try, but it just happened. So for me, I've been exploring alternative ways of earning money for years now. Like, really, honestly, it's been quite a few years since we've been working on stuff like trading, like foreign exchange, Forex, Bitcoin. I've also done other stuff, and I still continue to do stuff like this hustle, like building courses online that I'm going to talk a little bit about later as well, doing some gigs on the side to keep earning money. And what I've realized is, I keep telling my wife that, okay, we're trying multiple things in the hopes that one thing works out, and then from there, it's smooth sailing. But my experience is never smooth sailing. It's just that you believe it is smooth sailing. And I think that is a separate part of the problem, right? That you believe that is that one goal that you're striving for, and once you get there, you're going to be happy. But that's not true. You rarely get there. And that is exactly why so many people love millionaires and billionaires because the story is so captivating that, oh, I'm going to get there if I just keep working hard, I keep my head down and I keep trying. I'm going to get there, and then I'm going to reap the benefits that these people are reaping, such as low tax rates and more corruption but less consequences, etc., etc. To go back to what we discussed about shortcut, the story that comes into my mind is of three people. Two of them, in my eyes, had a shortcut of sorts. Third person was me and my friend, still trying to see what works and what we have done so far. So the first person was a friend of mine who worked in a startup a couple of years, is doing his own thing. But when you work in a startup, you get equity in terms of where you are. So when he got equity and he kept working, he kept grinding, normally like a normal 9 to 5 person would, right? Like maybe even more, because he is a hustler. All he did was just stay in that company, worked really hard, delivered what he needed to deliver. But then the company went public and the shares skyrocketed, and he made a really nice nest egg out of it that he can use now wherever he wants. Life has become more comfortable. It was already comfortable for him, but it became more comfortable. Now, is that luck? Is that a shortcut of sorts? You can argue that no, not really. He put in a lot of work, but most people in startups get equity. It's just that will that startup fail or pass is sometimes a matter of luck. Sometimes it's coincidence, or like it's hard work, not a coincidence, but hard work. So this is where I mean, like, the draw line gets a bit murky, right? That yes, almost all startups require a lot of effort, but only some of them survive, and how to pick those some of them just by luck. The only thing that I know is not luck, is serial entrepreneurship, or people who have been building startups over startups. You know that they are successful. But other than that, one thing works, one thing doesn't work. You never know. Even a big company like Microsoft was on the way down till Mr. Nadella came in around late 2000s, and then the second most valuable company in the world. So he turned the ship around somehow. Luck, effort, I don't know. Was Microsoft lucky to get him at that point in time? Was there a system in place that somehow created that person to turn the ship around? I don't know much knowledge about that, but what I do know from these things is there is an element of luck here, which brings me to story number 2. Similar situation, a guy who's a hustler, who's trying so many things, failing. But then suddenly, one time, COVID hit. He thought, you know what would be nice? To sell masks and gloves. And then suddenly, through selling masks and gloves, he became sustainable and comfortable enough that now he can do multiple different things with the money that he made, and those things are now making more money, and so on and so forth. So his initial jump came out of COVID. You can be like, oh, he had a great idea. I met another founder for an AI startup who also said that he's bootstrapping this AI startup with the money he made from COVID vaccines, vaccination camps and everything that he set up in all over the Netherlands. So there's a claim to this that, yeah, maybe hustlers and people who have our minds always working and the effort that they've been putting, they're the ones who reap the benefit. But you also have stories of people just generally also reaping up the benefits. Even if they were failed entrepreneurs, they became successful entrepreneurs because of this one moment that came. You can argue that one moment came because they kept hustling. But you can also argue it was a moment of luck that the pandemic came and saved that person, which also took so many lives on the other side. So shortcut, not shortcut, I don't know. Last one is me and my friend. We've been trying this alternative lifestyle hustle culture for years, almost hitting 10 years now. And we don't have anything to show for it. We have done Forex trading for years, trying to spend money to make money, trying to try new techniques, educate ourselves, upskill, join communities, all the shebang that they teach you in online courses, right? That find the right people around you, learn the right skills, spend money to upskill. I did everything. Didn't work yet. We're still trying, we're still grinding. We are seeing some positive light at the end of the tunnel this year, but we don't know, because at the end of the day, that's what we saw last year as well, and the year before that as well. But we're still working on it. Now, if something happens in this year, is it luck and a shortcut, or is this the combination of 10 years in the making? And I don't have the answer for that. Maybe I want to believe that, no, it was my effort that I put in, right? But by my, I mean ours. He's most of the brains. You can say that, but it could also be the fact that maybe some lucky moment happens which suddenly jumps us up the curve, and then we're still maintaining the same impact. But because you're here and you're like this, and then this one lucky jump gets you here, and then you're still like this, nothing changed in your effort, I think. What changed is that one moment just threw you up a little bit, and then now you're doing the same thing, but now in a more comfortable way. So that's what I think will happen with us if it happens. So I would consider it a lucky break of sort, built on the foundation that is consistent, but that consistent foundation might not have made you this successful anyways. And that jump up, you still maintain the same momentum, but now you just have money to play around with. So I don't know. Most of this is I don't know, because I'm trying to figure it out. I completely agree that effort and habit and structure and routine is your key in most things, but I don't want to rule out the luck factor. There's been a newsletter that I posted about how luck is a mental construct, right? People say that no, like, you don't get lucky. Only people who hustle a lot and make a lot of effort to get lucky, the rest don't get lucky. So it's a mindset that positive, more optimistic, more risk-taking people get more lucky compared to everyone else. So that's also a side of the argument that already exists that I made. But I also want to challenge that in this one and think about that, okay, yes, it does. I'm not denying it, that effort is there. But I feel like let's not downplay the role of luck, because it's there. When the crises happened of 2008, 2009, of the early 2000s, 1929, what we learned was that in that moment, in that despair, companies grew that became one of the largest companies now. And how does that happen? It happens not just with the combination of their grit and ability to deliver under those pressure, but also luck, that they were there at the right time when everything was falling, and they were the ones who were stable enough to manage. So they would have been good, but would they have been this good? That is the crux of the matter. But I want to end the conversation here, because I want to keep these short snippets. So that was my idea on shortcuts. Second that I want to talk about is paradox of productivity. This is something I'm excited and confused about. So let me tell you what I mean. Right now, I'm in the midst of developing talks for conferences about developer productivity and productivity in general and all of that stuff. And what I've realized is, the more I delve into productivity, the more I realize that we as a species and as a population are far too obsessed with productivity in this day and age. And I think that is only because of the amount of time-wasting technologies that also have developed in the last 2 decades or so. So since the birth of internet, you got stuff like video games, you got stuff like social media, you got stuff like technology infiltrating our daily lives. So now suddenly people are wasting a lot of time on those things, playing games, watching movies, videos, TV, YouTube, all of that stuff. That somehow a certain subset of people realize that, hey, look, we're doing this wrong. Technology is not for this. It's actually for this. It's actually to make us more better, more productive. You know, like the Industrial Revolution made us more productive. So now the steam engine and mass production keep working, that kind of mindset. So we brought that into the world of knowledge work. And now it's the same thing. Now it's not about technology being bad for you in terms of addiction and loneliness and all of that stuff from the perspective of social media and addiction science. But I feel like there's also this side of productivity science that is also too glamorized, and it also is a part of the problem, because if you go back before the time of smartphones, what did you do? Were you this productive? That's a question I need you to think about. Were you this productive? For the people who are older in the audience and for the people who are younger, ask your parents. Were they this productive, or did they try to be this productive back in the day? When work was clocking in and clocking out, when social life was not surrounded by instant communication and instant messaging and information at the hands of your fingertips. I was reading articles where people we argued for hours over science because we did not have access to encyclopedias or research articles. And now conversations die out because one person makes a claim, the other person takes out their phone, Googles, and then shows them, look, Google says you're wrong. But then new conversations emerge about but why do we believe Google is right? Why do we believe empiricism is the right thing? Why don't we try to challenge that from the world of pseudoscience or anti-empiricism or logic, etc., etc.? People are making up more things to talk about because they're running out of things to talk about, because the age of information has made everything so accessible, so fast, so instant that you feel compelled to produce and compelled to do something, compelled to move. I was walking around with a friend when I was having this debate with him, and he was so excited about this. He was like, I don't think I would be able to go back to 1990s and 80s and enjoy my life pre-smartphone, because it's so easy now. I don't need to wait days and hours to get stuff done. I can get them done in days and weeks. I can get them done in hours, because I have the information that I need at my fingertips to move, to create a new app if I want to do something if I want to. And I felt that too myself, especially with the rise of generative AI, how the barriers to everything has become so low that even if I want to create an app of sorts, before then you also had very easy low-code tool apps. But now you can just ask it to build stuff for you, create, as my friend called, boilerplates, which are frameworks that they can create with best practices, and then you can tweak it around a little bit just using natural language. So if you know what you want, you can guide it to do everything, like your own personal developing assistant, right? And that makes people feel like they're not taking advantage of the scenario. They're not taking advantage of the landscape. I met this woman who is, it was in Japan, in the metro. Our first day we landed in Japan, and she was from Silicon Valley, but she was an architect, an interior architect. So not tech savvy, but more space savvy, you could say. But for some reason, she was like, oh, I've seen ChatGPT becoming so good and everything that I'm thinking of making a course on it. I'm like, you're thinking of making a course on it? She's like, yeah, I'm learning so much that I can easily teach people about it. That's not her expertise. That was never her expertise. But she made it her expertise because she has access to that information. And if she can sell it, that's amazing. I think that's a skill in itself, right? That you're able to sell in and show yourself as an expert on things that are just emerging technologies. But I think that is part of the problem, because these are early movers. People who move, who want to produce, who want to get ahead of the curve because they can, because we all can. We just don't want to. So this is the struggle that I'm facing these days about productivity, because I'm the same. I want my phone to be a productivity machine. My WhatsApp only opens up 4 times a day. I have no social media on my phone. I only use automation routines, like turning the phone dark when the sun goes down, or turning it grayscale before I sleep, lock the phone completely out at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. so that I don't get to use it till like 9 a.m. in the morning. Automatic reminders when I go into the supermarket to suddenly buzz my phone and open up the grocery list so that I'm productive, I get stuff done. But then I realized, why are we being so automated in everything? Yes, it's a human thing to be automated. Habits are literally automation mechanisms, and I'm all for it, right? We don't know, or we don't consciously walk. We don't consciously do anything, right? We don't consciously focus on these things. We just do them. Like walking and thinking and talking. We don't consciously think about it. Look, we're doing this mechanical activity. No. So same is here. You can argue. But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with it yet to think that this is the right way, because I think both ends of the spectrum are going to reach the same conclusion, which is burnout, anxiety, depression, stress, and the lack of will to do something because you're so overwhelmed by choice. In one place, you're overwhelmed by information that is paralyzing you to doing nothing and just watching TV and just being on scrolling all the time. On the other side, you have this so much overwhelming of things that you need to do, and the system's created to make you as efficient as possible, and keep running, that you're just going to be like, you know what, I'm done. I don't know. Because how much can you really produce? And this is a question I asked my friend, and he was amazing, I'll be honest, because the way he was talking so smoothly. He was like, yeah, but this is what life is, to be curious, to build, to do this. That's, I think, what our goal is as species. But if you ask someone else, another friend of mine who is into this Forex thing and wants to become successful so he can live a relaxed life, he's like, no, it's a means to an end. Once you have money, then you can do whatever you want. You don't need to work and build, and it's life is worth living, enjoying, partying. So it's not just working and building and being curious. And some of us who are minimalists, we go like, yeah, but why do we do anything? What is the purpose? Why can't we just be content where we are, be happy where we are, and not look for the new things, search for things, or like the strive? It's such an innate thing, such a human thing to keep striving for something, to make the journey as important as the destination. And that's, I think, my thoughts on that. As I said, don't have an answer. I'm building a talk to ask these questions myself, to understand, okay, we know this science, we know clearly the harm of social media and the problems that comes, but I think we don't know the harms of productivity yet, because it fits really well into the system that we have built around us, which is capitalism, in which it's all about producing and consuming, right? So if you are raising people who are chronic producers, who are just building, building, building all the time, the system would reward you. But if you're people who are depressed, scrolling on the phone all the time, consuming, which is also a very big part of the equation, but then not being capable enough or not being in the capable mindset to then produce and work for a living, that causes stress on the system. So they're focusing on this. They're like, become more nicer, become more productive. But on this side, they're not really realizing the effects of burnout on, or the paradox of productivity. I think burnout is something people are really talking more about these days, but more about glorifying productivity. And why is it so important? Why do we need to work so hard? Why are we enabling the system of production and consumption all the time when we don't need it? If you think about it, we don't need to earn money for food. There's so much food that is left over, that gets wasted every single day, that could feed thousands, if not millions of people. But supermarkets, restaurants, they choose to throw that food into waste, because if they give it away for free, why would people come and buy it the next time? So the system is built on exploitation and resource maximization and wastage. It's not efficient at all. That's why you have this new economic theory that's built on capitalism called circular economy, in which you still want to be capitalist, but sustainable, recyclable, all of those stuff. But then that means we're paying for stuff to reuse it, like the rental or subscription-based economy. So it's not about owning things anymore, it's about renting things. So also food, also your clothes. So instead of owning them, you're going to rent them. Your car, you're going to rent them, because you're like, I will still have to keep paying, because that's the capitalist system. You will always have to pay. There is no system in which you don't pay. But now you're going to keep paying for stuff that you can't own, because it has to be recycled and put back into the system, so that you don't take out more stuff from the environment and keep this cycle going. But the companies who are going to be involved are still going to make money, because they're still going to take your money, while their raw material cost is going to go drastically down, because they don't need to produce more stuff, they just need to recycle. But yet we'll have to pay money. So it's confusing. It's confusing for me as well. But I'm just quite interested in this, that why are we not really focusing on the paradox of productivity, the pitfalls of productivity, and only focusing on the pitfalls of social media and the dark side of technology in terms of time wasting and anxiety from a social point of view, but nothing about the productive side and how automation and everything and trying to run is okay and glorified. Finally, we're getting to the end of the conversation. We're going to talk about Father's Day and Mother's Day. So Mother's Day just happened, my wife's first Mother's Day. I was excited. She was excited. We were both so excited that we both actually forgot the original date. My wife did not know the date. She told me the date. I planned everything according to the date. And I realized it was wrong when I called the vendor to order her gifts. And they said that you do know it's in 2 days. And that shocked me a lot. So it was a wonderful experience, and it was typical of a new parent, right? That we don't know what day it is, we don't know what life it is, because we're so obsessed and so involved with our child that time is an illusion when it comes to early parenting. So it was wonderful. She enjoyed it. We had a whole plan, dinner, gifts. The little one was dressing up and giving her mom stuff. It was beautiful. And I'm not a celebratory kind of a person. So I was like, you want to? Sure, let's do it. Let's celebrate Mother's Day. But our Father's Day is coming, and my wife is much better at me than me at this. So she already was planning these things in advance. But I was never. I'm not even that interested in my birthday, for example. But for some reason, I was walking around in the city center, and I would see fathersday, basically Father's Day promotion going on everywhere. You know, like buy your father this barbecue set, or buy your father these things, and all those typical macho dadly things like tools for the house, or barbecue for him to grill, or clothes, leather, etc., etc. And I don't know, I felt excited. I was like, oh, this looks nice. I am becoming a father, so maybe I get to have my Father's Day. And I never knew that I was this excited to celebrate stuff. And me and my wife were having this conversation. We were talking about this, and she was like, "Why are you so excited to celebrate our daughter's first birthday? And why are you so excited that your parents are coming? Why are you so excited for these things?" And I said, "I'm always excited to celebrate. I think celebration is, you don't need a reason. You just celebrate, right?" But she said, "But you're never this interested for your own things." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm never interested in my own things, my own birthdays, things that celebrate me. I'm not that interested. I'm more interested in celebrating other people." But this was an occasion where I was like, oh, Father's Day. Oh, Father's Day. It's my day. I really enjoy that day. And it teaches you a lot about how you grow as a person. And it teaches you a lot about why you should be celebrating these little moments. So, of course, not all fathers are great. And that's a fact. And almost all fathers do try, but some of them are just not equipped to be fathers. So there is this dark side of Father's Day as well. But I rather focus on the positives, celebrating those fathers who do try, who do give a shit, who do their best. And I like to believe I'm one of those, because a segue from Father's Day into fatherhood in general, it has been more difficult to think about parenting in this day and age compared to parenting from my parents' time, specifically for us, because maybe for people who were raised and born and are from the West, so the Western cultures, you have this individualistic mindset anyways, right? So the government supports you like the government supported us in trying to teach us these things about baby rearing that usually your mom teaches you, because that's where you learn from in our culture. So a lot of things that our parents taught us are not also empirically correct, because science thinks differently, and that's perfectly fine. It's just that if science has not validated or invalidated our pseudoscience, I don't like to push it away with, but if it has, then yes, science wins. So a lot of things that we did not know about how to hold a baby, like our parents did, not to give sugar to a baby or salt to a baby, that our parents didn't know because they were only getting information from their parents. So where I'm going with this is, in our culture, compared to the West, we're not that individualistic. The West has governments, as I mentioned, they have their own individuality, they have information, but we had society. And this is also why the West are so comfortable with childcare, for example, which is something me and my wife are still struggling with. Our daughter needs to go to childcare, not for any particular reason for us, but also to develop social skills, to interact with other kids. Because all of that was available to us back in the day in Pakistan, because when we were young, we had cousins running around us and we learned social skills. But because in this individualistic world of a nuclear family, where it's just me, my wife, and our daughter, maybe she sees her grandmother or uncles or aunts, but she doesn't see other kids. She doesn't interact with them as often as we did. So childcare is very important for her development. But going back to how parenthood is different, there we had family all the time on us. And that means you share the burden. The whole saying of it takes a village to raise a child makes a lot of sense, especially now when we live here and realize that child learning is difficult. And that's why childcare and government support is a way of that village here, because they try to subsidize it for you so that you can afford to go to work and also afford childcare and also get some peace of mind, because it gets difficult. But we're in a sticky place where we don't go for childcare yet because culturally it's not a fit yet. We're thinking about it. We want to do it, but it's difficult. But also we don't have family around us as much as we did in Pakistan or Afghanistan. So it becomes also difficult from that perspective that, okay, we are overwhelmed with the information that we have. We are overwhelmed with the tasks that we need to do. But we are stuck between two worlds. And amidst this overwhelmingness and chaos of being part of two worlds and learning and growing and trying to figure out our way, these little days where we get to celebrate the fact that we are a family, like Mother's Day, Father's Day, really helps grounds us and makes us realize what is important. Okay, it doesn't matter that it is overwhelming. It doesn't matter that the little one can be difficult at times. It doesn't matter that it's difficult for us as partners also to navigate early fatherhood and motherhood. But it is a special moment and it is amazing. And the fact that there are days that we can celebrate this makes it more amazing, because it makes us aware. It reminds us again that, hey, you did this for a reason. There is a choice here. You made that choice. Own that choice. Be aware of that choice. And I am. I know I did this by choice. I knew how it's going to be. I knew how difficult it will be because I chose to move here away from my family. I chose to live this nuclear individualistic lifestyle, and all the difficulties that come with it, I need to own them. And this Father's Day, I'm also going to own fatherhood. That I chose this. I'm happy with it. There are difficult days, but there are difficult days every day, or like all the time. Be it a father or not, be it alone or married, there are difficult days. So I rather not focus on those difficult days, as I said in the start as well. I rather focus on the good things. I rather focus on the positives. in life. Doesn't mean I'm negating the negatives. I'm just not giving them as much attention than needed and focus on the positive. So, Father's Day, 16 June. Very, very excited. I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm really excited to see what my wife, who's sitting right there, plans for me and gets me. And yeah, that was all the 3 topics that I wanted to discuss. I hope you enjoyed these reflections as much as I did. I always have fun discussing these tidbit ideas with you guys. I think it's much better than the long form conversations that I do all the time. I think they have their place, and that's why once a month we will have a long form direct conversation with a guest. But these little tidbits and those stitch formats, I think, really bring some diversity into Wasal. And at the end of the day, it's all about ideas and curiosity. So I'm really hoping out of these 30 minutes, something tweaked your mind. And I was like, didn't think of that. And I will call that a success. So thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time.